Hi everyone, this is Charlotte Korchak, Senior Educator from StandWithUs, and we're back with another Ask Charlotte Question of the Week with JTV. This week's question comes to us from Sam in Toronto, and the question is, why doesn't Israel just leave the West Bank, Judea and Samaria? Well, that's a great question. Now, it really depends on who you ask. There's one camp in Israel that would say, we don't want to leave the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and they would probably call it Judea and Samaria. This would be the settlement camp, the camp of people who believe that territory should fall under Israeli control permanently, that Israel should actually apply their sovereignty to that territory and make it part of the wider state of Israel, also oftentimes known as one-state solutioners. Then on the other side, you have some people who would be willing to withdraw from that territory, but today they wouldn't do that because of security reasons. You know, back in 2005, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. And unfortunately, a year and a half later, that territory was taken by Hamas. And Hamas has been ruling that territory ever since. And from that territory has been terrorizing Israelis with rocket fire, terror tunnels, mortars, balloons that have incendiary devices on them that set our fields on fire. And so unfortunately, our experience with withdrawing from territory without a final agreement in hand is not a positive one. And so there are many in Israel who believe that we need to remain in the West Bank for now to continue to protect ourselves and conduct the necessary counterterrorism that needs to be done to protect Israelis from that growing threat of terror. And then lastly, there are some Israelis who would say we should leave the West Bank. We should leave it now. We should redraw the borders and we should decide what line we should withdraw to, and we should just unilaterally withdraw from the territory and hope for the best. So there's a lot of different opinions on this. I think one of the most important things that we should remember is putting aside terrorism and how withdrawal from Gaza actually impacted the Israelis. Let's just quickly talk about how it impacted Palestinians. Palestinians in Gaza unfortunately suffer every day under the hands of Hamas. The territory has been mismanaged, has been neglected. There's unemployment that is running rampant. There is challenges when it comes to humanitarian aid. And so the last thing we would want to see is a withdrawal from the West Bank that could ultimately result in a Hamas takeover of the West Bank, that could ultimately end up with the almost 3 million Palestinians who live in the West Bank falling under Hamas rule, similar to what we have in Gaza today. So not only could their lives get worse living under the tyrannical regime that is Hamas, but we could also have an unfortunate increase in violence coming from that territory as a result. And so, unfortunately, Israel has attempted to withdraw from the territory with agreements offered to the Palestinians, both in the year 2000, the Camp David Agreement, and in 2008, with the agreement made by Ehud Olmert to Mahmoud Abbas. Unfortunately, the Palestinians rejected both of those offers. So those are the different perspectives, the different opinions on this. It is incredibly complicated, but that's the spectrum. And so that's the answer for today. Thank you all for listening. Looking forward to next week's question. Have a wonderful day.